The story begins with a woman named Yoonji who is the second most powerful person in the gangster organization she joined. Her parents died when she was a child, leaving only her and her sister in an orphanage. As a child, Yoonji was later separated from her sister when Yoonji decided to wander in search of her own identity. He himself has a dark past, where since Yoonji left the orphanage he lived with the children of delinquents, making him a gangster boss. It is because of his agility and prowess in eradicating his enemies' enemies. One day, Yoonji then got a report from one of his men that they had found someone Yoonji was looking for more than 15 years who was now in the hospital. They then immediately went to the location. And it turns out that the person being sought is Yoonji's sibling who has been separated since childhood. But it turns out that their meeting is not pleasant, where Yeonjin's brother is suffering from terminal cancer. Eun-jin tried to threaten the doctors, telling them to perform surgery on her brother. However, the doctors told her that it would be useless. Her brother's cancer was incurable.
근데 형님, 이 병원에서는 전적이 금연입니다.
Her brother then made one request of her, which was that he wanted to see Yoonji's wedding before he died. Eun-jin returns to her headquarters. Her underlings are all shocked upon hearing her request. She requests help from them to try and help her find the man of her dreams for the sake of her sister. One of her underlings, Romeo, tries to help her out and invites a stylist to the headquarters. The stylist starts applying makeup on Eun-jin's face to make her more womanlike, since her style is rather masculine. The stylist also gives her some tips on how to seduce a man, after seeing how bad Eun-jin's sweet talk really is.
이쪽입니다. 예.
At night, Eun-jin goes on a blind date arranged by Romeo in a restaurant. The masculine Eun-jin is now in a feminine dress, yet the way she walks, talks, and sits doesn't show a single speck of feminineness. With a hired pair of parents, she meets her first blind date. But past her introduction to the male's family, they walk out of the table.
어머님은 뭘 아시나?
지금
오빠, 언제까지 결혼할 수 있어?
Due to this failure, she beats up her underlings on the rooftop. After the disastrous date, Eun-jin parks her car on the side of the road and goes for a smoke. Two men pass by and cuss Eun-jin for parking that badly and drive off. This frustrates Eun-jin, causing her to chase after the car and ram them from the side. Eun-jin and the men get out of the car. She kicks the men on the chest a couple of times, causing them to run away. Eun-jin then starts smashing their car, causing them to turn back and try to beat her up. A man, Soo-il, intervenes, telling them they must not beat a woman up. As he tries to protect the gangster, Soo-il gets hit on the head by a brick thrown by Eun-jin instead. He is quickly taken to the hospital. After he is given treatment, Romeo thinks that he can be a good candidate for another blind date for Eun-jin. After some investigation on Soo-il's background, another blind date is arranged for her. This time, the date goes better. Eun-jin asks if he wants to marry her. Suael isn't creeped out by the immediate request, but walks off from her for some time to think about it. Eunjin then goes to the bathroom, where she is ambushed by two men from a rival gang, the White Sharks. She manages to evade the man's knife, grabbing him and throwing him onto the ground. She also evades the attacks of the other man, kicking him on the chest. The two men run out of the restaurant afterwards, followed by Eunjin. Suael suddenly shows up with a bouquet of flowers, answering her request and agreeing on the marriage. Word of Eunjin's marriage arrives into the White Shark's ears. The rival gang decides to crash her marriage. As Eunjin and Suael walk down the aisle, her underlings receive word about the White Shark's plan. Eunjin's marriage is still somewhat ruined due to the mess and disturbance created by the two gangs. After the ceremony, Eunjin and Suael stay in a hotel together. The man tries to make moves on his wife on their first night, but Eunjin thinks that he is being gross, running into the bathroom and hiding inside for the night. Suael falls asleep as he waits for his wife's arrival, but wakes up in the middle of the night. He sees his wife sleeping on the couch and decides to pick her up and carries her to the bed. As he tries to take her clothes off, Eunjin kicks him away in her sleep. A failed first night for him. The next evening, Suael returns home and finds his wife sleeping on the bed. He decides to try and make another move on his wife, unbuttoning her shirt. However, Eunjin wakes up and pins him down, telling him to not touch her. At night, Suael experiences difficulty sleeping with Eunjin due to her snores and sleep-talking. Days after, Suael invites his colleagues to his house to celebrate his marriage. Eunjin, however, shows no manners, even to one of his colleagues' children. All of this terrible behavior from Eunjin frustrates Suael, causing him to scold her about their relationship. The next day, Eunjin meets up with her sister, whose condition is worsening. Eunjin takes her back to her new house and introduces her to her new husband. Her sister is happy to see them being together. At night, however, her sister makes another request to Eunjin. She wants to see her have a baby. The next day, she asks the stylist from before for some tips on how to get pregnant. After receiving them, Eunjin tries applying them onto her husband at night, but it doesn't seem to work. She decides to use her own methods and goes straight for the intercourse. The next few days are filled with intimacy for the two as well, even going as far as having fun in the elevator and on a table. Days after, while having a meal with the gang, Eunjin is approached by a man from the White Shark gang. He is asked to leave, but stays still. This frustrates Eunjin, causing her to stab him on his head, barely missing his eye. The next day, a meeting between the two clans is held because of this incident. Eunjin meets the boss of White Shark together with her boss, trying to sort things out. The conclusion of the meeting is that Eunjin has a duel with one of White Shark's higher-ups, Nan-man. The two meet up on the fields, starting the duel. Nan-man manages to get the first strike, landing a cut on Eunjin's cheek with his knife. Nan-man then manages to kick one of Eunjin's knives away from her. As she pins him down, Eunjin stabs her knife down, intentionally missing Nanman's head by mere inches and sparing him as she wins the duel. In the evening, Eun-jin treats her wounds back at her house. Soo-yeol returns home and immediately rushes to her side to help her out. He also tells her that her sister is in the hospital as her condition has worsened. The next day, Eun-jin goes to the apothecary, buying an ointment and also a pregnancy test pack while she's at it. The tests come out positive, and she shares the good news with her sister. Her sister is happy for her, and asks her to tell her husband right away. Eun-jin calls Soo-yeol while he's at work, merely telling him to come home early. He returns home, but to his surprise, he spots his wife's massive tattoo on her back instead. Eun-jin then explains all the lies she has told him. Her occupation, the real reason for their marriage, and others. Soo-yeol forgives her, but requests her to stop from her line of work, to which she refuses as it has become her identity. The next day, Eun-jin's sister is in critical condition. Eun-jin stays by her side and is requested to live happily with Soo-yeol, before her sister passes away moments after. Night falls and elsewhere, Romeo is waiting for his girlfriend, planning a date after she has finished working. While waiting, some street punks pick a fight with Romeo and manage to stab him in the stomach, fleeing the scene soon after.
이 새끼들 아주 설정거리고 있네.
His girlfriend finds him lying on the street. Romeo compliments her one last time, before dying in her arms. His girlfriend immediately calls his gang and tells them the horrible news, with the gang assuming that it was the White Shark's plot. Just when Eun-jin's household starts to get better, the horrible news reaches her. Her gang's underlings barge into White Shark's headquarters, seeking revenge. However, they are outnumbered and lose the fight. Eun-jin arrives late to the party, with all her underlings already beaten up.
이놈이 비겁한 줄은 알았지만
Despite her impressive performance, she's still outnumbered and takes hits from some of the underlings. She decides to go straight to the higher-ups, but eventually falls from quite some height, lying crippled on the floor. Nanman shows up, seeking revenge for his earlier loss. Nanman steps and kicks on her stomach as she begs him to stop, because she is pregnant. However, Nanman doesn't care. Eun-jin's boss suddenly shows up and starts talks with White Shark's boss, handing some documents in exchange for Eun-jin and her underlings' lives. Soo-yeol finds her wife at the hospital, all beaten up. The nurse then also tells him that she has lost a lot of blood due to miscarriage. Only then did he know that his wife had been pregnant. This angers Soo-yeol, seeking to take revenge on the White Shark. Meanwhile, said gang is having fun at a nightclub for their win. Soo-yeol manages to barge inside their room and starts pouring alcohol onto all the gang's bodies. As he lights up his lighter, he gets ambushed from behind, stopping his intentions of burning the gang alive. However, the White Shark's boss foolishly lights himself and his colleagues up in flames as he goes for a cigarette, with Soo-yeol managing to run away from the disaster. In the end scene, a showdown between Eun-jin's gang and another gang is going to happen, with Soo-yeol now joining the gang, ready to stay by his wife's side in her future endeavors.